Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Rai, and a warm welcome to you on behalf of APAC News Network. Just before we start, a brief backgrounder on APAC News. We are a Noida-based media company with our branches in Hyderabad in India and Dubai, Malaysia, and Singapore outside India. Our core strength till now has been more on the government, healthcare, and education, and we have been doing both covering as well as connecting program with the top bureaucrats, top hospitals, and education institutions. Now we are also enhancing our focus into enterprise and IT as well as BFSI. So best it would be if you can just give a brief background on the genesis of ECO and what are the dynamics of your work with the Ministry of Health.
So Eco India was founded in the year 2008. The expanded form is Extension for Community Health Outcomes, and this gives an idea what we do. We are a registered not-for-profit trust in New Delhi. Eco India is part of a larger movement globally called the Eco Movement, which started in 2003 out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. That said, we are an independent institute, and I'm the founding chairman and managing trustee of this institute. The basic premise of ECHO is that we want to move knowledge and not the providers and patients. And ECHO India works primarily in two areas: healthcare, which is about 90% of our work, and education, which is about 10% of the work. The ECHO model is based on four core principles. We call them A, B, C, D. A stands for amplification. We'd like to amplify whatever is being said or taught to the learners, and we use a virtual platform called Zoom for doing this. However, it can be run on any platform. B is sharing best practices. So ECHO is a hub and a spoke model where the hub are the mentors or the teachers which connect regularly with spokes or learners. And these teachers, who are generally from centers of excellence, they connect them on a regular basis, usually weekly or once in 14 days, and focus in some area of a disease or a problem and share the best practices which are available globally or in the country in that area. C stands for case-based learning. This just means that a problem is presented. If it is a medical problem, it could be a patient or the problem that he's facing, or it could be, say, in education, the case could be a gap which is there between the current state and the desired state in that narrow area. And D stands for data. We collect a very limited data, primarily how we are doing as an institution and how the movement is doing. With this brief introduction about ECHO India, I'll come to the ministry piece. But before that, I would like to say that since it is so heavily dependent on availability of broadband and connectivity, while we started in 2008, we have really started conducting our programs in 2015. So it's just about 6 years or a little less than 6 years that we have actively been doing it.
In terms of A and B, which you mentioned, saying B case, the learners. So, how is the model? Is it you are working in an institutional model? So, are these learners from institutions, or is it directly going to the learner as an individual consumer? So, how is the model?
So the learners, and thank you for asking that question. The learners in medical field are doctors or nurses or healthcare workers in underserved areas. These underserved areas in the country are generally in the rural or remote areas, but could be sometimes in bigger cities as well. So we never reach out directly to a patient. We reach out to these providers, as I said, which could be doctors, nurses, paramedics, vaccinators, healthcare providers, who in turn would be treating the patients. In education, we focus on teachers, school principals, schools administrators, primary school teachers. We never go directly out to the students. So this is the model of hub and spokes, and the learners are this group of people. And B, when I said, is sharing best practices, that whatever field you are discussing, the people who are running this program, and it will become very clear to you how we do that very shortly, they share whatever is the global or the local best practice, and these may differ. Even vaccination is slightly different in developed countries and in a developing country like ours. We have our own protocols. But if a question is asked and if a session is said, the teacher will never say, I will do this and I will do that. He will always advise that what is the current best practice as decided by the government or the peers in that field, and we will try and limit ourselves to that. C was a case-based learning. It is just to improve the interactivity. We don't want the session to be a one-way monologue between the teacher and the learner. We want learners to participate actively. So we tell them that you please present your difficulties, your cases, so to say, and the solutions to these are provided. Of course, there is a little bit of formal teaching also. So when you do this, when you directly go on to solving somebody's problem, his or her involvement becomes tremendous, because we are not offering theoretical knowledge. We are offering theoretical knowledge, but we are primarily focusing on how to solve a given problem or a case. What can we do that? So this is the model. Now, what was implied in your question was obviously, see, I also work as a director of vascular surgery. I'm a practicing doctor in one of the big corporate hospitals here called the Max Hospital in New Delhi. And before that, I had served for 28 years in the Indian Army. And I'm a vascular surgeon. I was the president of Vascular Society of India. So the learners come to whom? The learners generally come to academic areas of institutions, and I'll name some institutes like All India Institute of Medical Sciences, PGI Chandigarh, or very famous professors and teachers. And we try to get them to lead that particular module, which they are, rendering, so that they can directly talk to the learners and skill them up in that narrow disease area which we are dealing with. I hope the model is clear.
But how do you really reach out to the underserved areas?
So that's a very, very astute observation. And in a way, this is a little bit of limitation to this model. And let me try and explain how we have tried to overcome that. We ran a program for the ASHA workers in the aspirational districts of Gujarat and UP. And obviously, most ASHA workers don't have a tablet or a good smartphone, and the connectivity may be poor. So what we did was we asked these ASHA workers to come to their PHC or CHC twice a month. Once a month, they have to come anyway. But the second time they were coming, we paid for their fare and gave them a nice meal. So they all congregated in the center. say somewhere between 20 to 50 ASHA workers. We put up a big screen. Obviously, you have to have the buy-in for the community or the primary health center, and then this learning took place. The good thing about ECHO model is that it is not a random thing. We have this today, we will have this next one after 2 days, the next one after 7 days. No, every program has got a fixed day and time, so that people know that come what may, this program will run on that day. So this is one way we overcame. In Assam, there was a problem of the connectivity, like you are saying. So what we did was we went to the tea gardens and talked to the tea garden management. Is it all right with you if some of these learners comes? And they welcomed us with open arms. So this did involve a certain amount of traveling for these people, but this is perhaps a couple of ways we can overcome the barrier of net connectivity. And as over the years, it has gone better and better, and that's been my experience, and I'm sure yours also. We expect it to improve further. But yes, if there is poor net connectivity, this will not work, because much before COVID came, remember in 2003, this was conceived to be this way. And the strength of the model is we encourage everybody to keep the cameras on. And we don't have a huge program. We are not obsessed with numbers that we want 100 or 500 or 1,000 people. We want between 20 to 50 people, which can come on one screen or maximum 2 screens, so that everybody can interact with each other. And this is what makes the model, what I believe is powerful in the sense that the message can then be conveyed more effectively. I have already listed 2, AIIMS and PGI Chandigarh, but we have a host of other partners. And, amongst the government institutes, there is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. We are a signed partner for them from 2019. They signed an agreement that ECHO would be the kind of preferred model for capacity building for the frontline healthcare workers. ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and its organization are a part of signed partners. NHSRC, National Health Resource Center in New Delhi, is a signed partner. NIHFW, National Institute of Health and Family Welfare. NICPR, National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research, and these are all in and around Delhi. NITRD, National Institute of Tuberculosis and Respiratory Diseases. Other than AIIMS Delhi, AIIMS Patna, Bhubaneswar, and Rishikesh. NIMHANS Bangalore, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurological Sciences. Tata Memorial Hospital. You have also said about the government partnership, and we all know that in India, health is a state subject. So while we are the signed partner with the National Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, we have signed partner of 18 state governments. And I'm very proud to say that we cover all the Northeast states except Mizoram. So we are trying to really reach out into the remote areas. There's a long way to go, but we are doing our best. We are also partners with 6 nursing councils of the country, and of course with the Central Directorate General of Nursing Services in New Delhi. So this is what in healthcare and in education. We have just signed a partnership with the government of Assam, and we are going to train. ECHO's model is going to be used to train 2 lakh school teachers in Assam. This is just rolled out last month. So these are our government partners. Of course, we have some private partners as well, like the Mohan Foundation in diabetes, very famous in entire India, southern India, the LV Prasad Eye Institute, Teleophthalmic Society of India, Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecologists of India, Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and there is an organization called OMAG, that is Organized Medicine Association Guild, which is a consortium of 20 medical professionals. So we are all a signed partner with these institutes, and most of the programs are run by these people. by their doctors from their center of excellence, and this attracts the learners. That people or institutions which are the premier institutes in the country are talking directly to the frontline workers, be it doctors or nurses or even ASHA workers in some of the underserved areas of the country.
So, how is your role in this whole vaccination program and the government target to vaccinate so many people by end of this year?
So let me take a minute to first explain our association in the COVID program as such. When COVID started last year, we actually ran our first echo on 28th of February, even before the lockdown started. In 1.5 years, we have trained or helped train, along with our partnering institutions, 400,000, over 4 lakh healthcare workers. And this is in all aspects of COVID disease. A total of over 3,000 hours or 3,000 sessions have been held, and the total hours is more than 4,000. So typically a session lasts for at least an hour or hour and a half. So these are our numbers as far as the COVID support to the government and to the nation is concerned. 400,000 plus learners have been trained mentored using the ECHO model. Now, coming to your question of vaccination, I don't know. Can I share my screen and show a slide? Will I be permitted to do that? So coming to the vaccine program, as is mentioned here, it started on 18th of December, and this is the data till now. We are partners with 13 state governments, and we have helped and supported 368 sessions. The sites which were there were 85,000 plus, and the total learners which have been trained is more than 161,000. And these are the kind of sessions that we have held. And the learners have been, medical officers, nurses, vaccinators, phlebotomists, and pharmacists, etc. And currently, the 5 most active state governments are governments of Nagaland, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Delhi, and Tamil Nadu. We have, and this is the snapshot. It is very clear that we have only penetrated 13 states out of over 30 which are there, but it is a challenging sort of model in some ways. And again, these are some of the other states I as mentioned: Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, and Himachal Pradesh. So this is what we have done. The focus areas in these vaccination program, it started with the CoWIN portal and the CoWIN app, and familiarizing them how to daily report the number of cases and to use this vaccination portal. And amongst other things, we have talked about the adverse event management or adverse events following vaccination. We have talked about so-called vaccine shortage, which is really a maldistribution, which everybody agrees to. We have talked to these people about communicating positive news, and we all know that sometimes all that is said much that is said in the media is I wouldn't say fake news, but not a very negative, in a negative manner. How can we say the same thing in a positive manner? We have discussed about planning for the third wave for COVID. What is the impact on the children and pregnancy? And these are some of the some of the issues that we have discussed in this particular program. We have done, and we have not done it alone. We have done in partnership with the state governments. In some of the states, there have been other partners. For example, in Rajasthan, we have partnered with UNDP. UNDP is the agency which is doing that. And we have partnered in limited way with the UNICEF for the media engagement within the ministry and otherwise. And of course, it all has been under the guidance of Mr. Lav Agarwal and Dr. Padmanaja in his department in Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. We'll also add here that we have run a couple of very special sessions. For example, there was a joint collaboration between Ministry, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, the Indian Medical Association, and ECHO India. And we ran a 4-day session called the Clinical Excellence Program from 22nd to 25th of June. The moderator was Dr. Randeep Guleria himself and the faculty from AIIMS, this thing. And this was very successful. Over 1,000 attendances were achieved. So similarly, we have run one more program with these people regarding this, and this was called the COVID-19 Protocol Management Series, and this was again with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And there we trained, or these people trained, and ECHO India helped to train 14 centers of excellences, and this program was for 10 days. So when I say the cascade effect or amplification effect, this is what I mean. See, Dr. Guleria or anybody at All India Institute or Ministry cannot train everyone. So they trained for 10 days these center of excellences, and thereafter these center of excellences have gone and in turn trained several state governments. So this is what we have done for the COVID-19 vaccination program. And we have held, other than vaccination, we had programs with 2 state governments. One was the government of Chhattisgarh, and the other was the government of Gujarat, which each of them we had during the second wave. And let me tell you, that was the time the interest amongst doctors was maximum. So during that time, each of these, I think with one we ran 12, with the Gujarat we ran 13 sessions. And the faculty for this was from the Mayo Clinic, the famous Mayo Clinic of USA. So Indian doctors who settled there, some of them wanted to repay back. And 13 sessions were held. And the total attendances in this session was, again, ran into something like close to 14,000 of these. So you can imagine a fairly large number of people participate. Of course, vaccination was not the only subject, but I think out of those 13, at least on 2 instances, vaccination was also discussed. So this is how we have tried, ECHO India has tried to support the country and the national government in sort of, and contributed in its own small way to help during these difficult times.
So what about these other communicable diseases and which impact a lot of the world's population? So what sort of training mechanisms have ECHO organized for those diseases?
So thank you once again for asking that question. And in the field of tuberculosis, and actually tuberculosis is still the killer number 1, and PM has stated that we want to eliminate this disease from the country by 2025, and that is why our NTCP was changed to NTEP, National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. ECHO India has supported this for the last 4 years. We have established 30 hubs for this, and all in collaboration with the governments, with these STOs, that is state training tuberculosis officers and things like that. And we are going to establish another 10 in the next 2 months under what is known as the I Defeat program, which is again joint consortium between USAID and WHO, Ministry and ECHO. There are about half a dozen partners. And in the annual tuberculosis report, 4 years ago, there were 4 lines mentioned about ECHO, and now they have mentioned about 2 pages of the work which ECHO is doing for the tuberculosis program. Of course, there's such a long way to go. Of course, we can do much more. But if we can just connect these people and they talk about their challenging cases, difficult cases, how to manage them, how to solve logistic problems, that helps a very big way in the tuberculosis challenge of the country. The second thing I would like to talk to you about is another disease which is known as hepatitis C. Earlier on, hepatitis B was the big deadly problem, but fortunately a vaccine was developed against it, I think over 30 years ago or longer than that. And with that, the instance of hepatitis B has started falling. So I went for my training in vascular surgery to Holland, and this was in the year 1991. And I was vaccinated against hepatitis C. So it's probably been around for about 35 years now. Unlike that, hepatitis C, there is no vaccine for that. And it is as deadly a disease because people can die of liver failure and liver cirrhosis and also of liver cancer. So hepatitis C was a major problem, and I suppose still is, in the state of Punjab. They had the highest number of cases in the country, and we will not go into the causes why. And it was estimated there were about 6 lakh cases, active cases in Punjab. So the then chief minister, of course, he said that I want something to be done. He gave a corpus of about 100 crores, and many initiatives were taken: case detection, provision of medicines, publicity, collection of samples, etc. PGI Chandigarh at that point of time, and this is roughly about 4 years ago, if I recall correctly, was the only center of excellence which was treating it, and they were treating about 1,500 cases a year. Now you can imagine that the disease would never get sorted out. So Professor R.K. Dhiman, who was then the head of the Department of Gastroenterology at PGI Chandigarh, he is now the director of the SGPGI Lucknow. He started this program wherein he connected with 21 district and 3 medical colleges. And he got learners from them and talked to them, mentored them into various aspects of management of hepatitis C. Basically, it gave those people more knowledge and confidence to manage these cases under the guidance of a mentor. And guess what? Year and a half later, 85,000 people had been successfully treated in Punjab under this new program, of which ECHO was a participant. You may well ask, oh, these numbers are very impressive. What were the results? So Professor Dhiman published in Hepatology, a world-famous journal, last year, and it came out in January 2020, wherein the study showed that the cure rate was identical at 91%, whether these people were treated at PGI Chandigarh or they were treated at the district hospital under the guidance of people who had been mentored and been trained using the ECHO model. So this is what I mean by amplification. From treating 1,500 patients, if you can treat about 60,000 patients a year, and clearly it's not possible for one institution or one individual to do that, but if you empower the people who are going to do it, this is what can be. This is one example of the cascading effect or force multiplication, as we'd like to call it.
So overall, both on healthcare and education, over the next 1 year, what are the immediate plans? What are the newer areas that you are looking at?
So Rajneesh, the good thing about the ECHO model is that it is disease agnostic. Wherever the disease is there, and in some region of the country, the disease may be very different. Whatever is the felt need of that community, that this is the top, or these are the top 3 or 4 diseases that we would like to tackle, because these are the disease areas we need to tackle. The model can be applied for them. I haven't talked about National NIMHANS Bangalore. NIMHANS Bangalore for years together have run successful program on mental health. It is estimated that between 3 to 7% of Indian population suffers from some kind of mental health issues. And there are just less than 3,000 psychiatrists in the country. So the need can never be met. So what this institute has done, has trained not only doctors, but also counselors in managing various aspects of mental health disease. Now, clearly they can't manage the most difficult cases. They would still have to be sent to bigger centers. But if they can, treat simple cases of, depression or curbing suicide or addiction, be it to alcohol, be it to smoking, this would do a big service to the country. So that's another field we have been concentrating, and we continue to do it in a big way. Cancer treatment, Tata Memorial Hospital has been a signed partner, and they hold their weekly cancer round using the ECHO model. They call it the tumor board, and it has trained hundreds and thousands of professionals using this model. And the National Institute of Cancer Prevention and Research have led courses on 3 common cancers, which constitute the major problem in the country: oral cancer, cancer of the breast, and cancer of the cervix. So they train gynecologists, medical officers, dentists, and it's a focused module in that, in early cancer detection, because we all know that the earlier a cancer is detected, more effectively the treatment can be done. So these are a couple of areas I wanted to mention, but basically we work with partner. A partner says, I want to run a program on this because in my local community this is a problem, and we say, sure, we will help you to do that. We will support it in every possible way, so that at the end of the day the program is successful. And how do we define the success of the program? That the learners which are there are now better empowered to treat that narrow segment of the disease. See, the doctors which were trained by Dr. Dhiman didn't become DM gastroenterology. That requires 6-7 years of training. But with mentoring, small portion of hepatology, which is hepatitis C disease, they became experts and achieved results like the rest of their counterparts, the best trained doctors. So this is what the model does.